Billboard Kia, PanamaCity.com.
Offer from Kia Finance America for the purchase of a new 2025 Kia Sorento or new 2025 Kia Sportage with $1,748 per month per $1,000 financed in 60 months. Quantity is limited, not to be combined with other finance offers and not available on balloon financing. The 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty is a Billboard Kia warranty. See dealer for complete details. Offer for well-qualified buyers. Must take delivery from dealer stock through 1/2/25.
Los Rancheros has been doing it right for 20 years. Los Rancheros brings a top-shelf dining experience to you with the opening of their beautiful new building. Watch all college and pro games on Los Rancheros' 14 large-screen TVs with great drink specials daily from 2 to 5 and during all the games. Los Rancheros, the place for live sports and great food on 23rd Street between Jenks and Harrison.
Panama City Beach Winery. Since 2003, a unique award-winning wine tasting experience right here in Panama City Beach. Our wines are crafted 100% from premium fruit, citrus, and berries with no added sugars, flavorings, or grapes. Delivering the true flavors of tropical Florida in every bottle. Panama City Beach Winery proudly offers free wine tastings every day. Plus, you'll love the gift shop. Wine slushies and our private events are unforgettable. Panama City Beach Winery at the corner of Joan Avenue and Thomas Drive. Is your restaurant looking a little tired from the long off season? Is your office a little offish? Start the new year off right by giving them a fresh start. Fresh Start Cleaning is now accepting new clients. Ask about their complimentary hood cleaning services. Fresh Start Cleaning. Get clean again with Fresh Start. Call 850-771-6917, 771-6917, and ask about their complimentary hood cleaning services.
Did you know that fees associated with real estate closings are virtually the same from one title company to the next? So what sets South Oak Title apart? Effective communication, customer service, expertise, and technology. If you're buying or selling real estate, refinancing a residential or commercial property, tell your realtor you want to close with South Oak Title. South Oak Title, with locations across the Southeast, including Panama City Beach, Inlet Beach, Destin, and Fort Walton Beach. Visit them online at southoaktitle.com.
WPLQ Port St. Joe, WGSX Haven, powered by Panama City Toyota.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Are you ready?
Okay, let's begin.
Trip. The Afternoon Underdog Trip. Live and local. Inside the Talk House.
Unleash the dragon.
On the Sports Talk Monster. ESPN Northwest Florida.
What is going on with you, Northwest Florida? You're now tuned in to the Afternoon Underdogs on a beautiful, not dreary, but no rain. Just a little foggy Wednesday, but it's great to be back in the building with Caveman Rick and with Fano, AG, Adam Goff, whatever it is you want to call them, and a slew of people watching along with us on YouTube this afternoon. Hopefully you're following along with us on either Facebook, on YouTube, or on Twitch. We don't check too many comments on Twitch. Why? Because we don't get too many comments on Twitch, but we do every now and again, specifically on Wednesdays, get some great comments on YouTube, and then on Facebook, that is kind of the go-to place. You guys can also call or text us this afternoon at 850-215-6290. Sorry to burst most of your bubbles, especially if you're watching on YouTube. We're not going to have Morgan this afternoon. She is dealing with a little sickness of her own, and we talked about that.
I had a little bit of a stomach bug yesterday.
And Tyler Bishop had one yesterday. Caveman Rick is doing fine.
I'm doing good.
Yeah. There you go. So you were dealing with a little bit of a stomach bug yesterday?
I woke up early yesterday morning with a stomach bug. It wasn't good. About mid-afternoon, it started clearing out, if you will, and I'm good.
From what I'm seeing on Facebook, it seems like a lot of people is going around and there's like some sort of, it's not COVID, but it's really bad, and I just never know how to feel when I'm looking at those posts like, I just hope that I don't get it, and then we'll just keep on riding on. But, we've got a show today and a show tomorrow on the Afternoon Underdogs, and then Friday we will be off because we're going to have Florida and Tulane, and then we're going to get into Indiana and Notre Dame. So that's going to be a big game. Can't wait for it. Again, call or text us this afternoon at 850-215-6290.
Well, and real quick.
Yeah, of course.
How big is it for Indiana that they have a standalone game, right? And what I mean by that is the other quarterfinal games or whatever, they do have, they are kind of standalones because there's really nobody else playing.
But there's
they're the
no
only game on Friday that's of that magnitude. So, for them to be able to get into the playoff, this year, and now they have this opportunity and they're by themselves. I mean, just think about it. We could have basically a 12-hour window where everybody's just talking about Indiana if they're able to go up to South Bend and get a dub.
And Caveman Rick had brought up that point yesterday. Do you think that this was something that the committee or whoever puts these games together, do you think that that was something that they intended to do with Indiana and Notre Dame? Because I think the best game on the slate for the first round is Tennessee-Ohio State, even though that's not the closest spread. The closest spread is actually right. When you're talking about just two juggernauts, right? And you're talking about two teams that we really don't know where they actually stand just because of some of the losses that they've had compared to some of the wins that they've had. But when it comes to the spread, actually Indiana-Notre Dame is the closest spread at -7 Notre Dame. But I think that this one is the perfect game to get the ball rolling. SMU Penn State, there's a lot of intrigue there, but how will that game actually go? And then with Texas and Clemson, I think there's plenty of intrigue all the way across the board, and that's why I'm so thankful that we're finally here to the 12-team college football playoff. But do you think that there was any rhyme or reason for Indiana-Notre Dame getting us started here?
I feel like that game has probably the most fireworks in it, right, of the four matchups that we're going to see.
Yeah.
I feel like Tennessee, Ohio State, both of them, neither one of them score very many points. Neither one of them give up very many points. SMU Penn State is probably the one that's at most risk of being a blowout, being in favor of Penn State. Clemson, Texas, again, that's a game that I feel like Clemson's been there before. They should know what to do, and they're capable of doing it, but at the same time, do they Clemson? And then Texas has kind of been on this downward spiral, if you will, the last few weeks. So, I think putting IU Notre Dame in that Friday night game to kind of kick it off, I think that was the smart thing to do because you get that underdog versus the Goliath, right?
Yeah.
David versus Goliath in this matchup. Even though statistically I don't think it is, but from just a simple namesake in football, it definitely is.
Perfect Irish Catholic game night, a Friday night for a football game like that. Perfect drinking.
Yeah, right. You go finish the game, and then you go hit up Mass, and then you're good to go.
You know what I'm saying? So, that's another reason why they might have done it,
Tim chiming in on the comments via text says, Dave, pray you don't get it, my man. Both my kids had it last week, and it was coming out both ends, sometimes at the same time. I've been in that same time situation before quite a few times, and it's no fun. Just make sure you got a trash can, or hopefully you're close enough to a tub, I guess, and you can just sit sideways. But hopefully your kids are doing better. And Tim, Ryan actually did bring up to Team Dynasty yesterday the possibility of trying to find a time to scrimmage you guys over the holiday break. Hopefully y'all season has been going well. Team Dynasty got another win last night. The score was 18-0. Back-to-back shutouts by the Dynasty defense. The Dynasty offense has been looking sharp as always, led by QB1. And man, we just have a slew of really good athletes.
Who's the defensive coordinator?
Don't worry about that guy. But the defense, the defenders, those kids are studs, man, and they do exactly what you tell them to. And even when they make what I noticed last night, because I really don't get onto them very much, but as we've gotten better, it's like, okay, well, now we have to get more out of each other. And so there was a situation last night where one of our safeties kind of just waited on the ball to come down, and the other team ended up making a nice catch. And I'm sitting there, I said, no, you get my ball. You go get my ball. And so, and then when he came off the field, I was like, hey, listen, man, when that ball's up in the air, you got to go attack it. Well, what do you know? The next 3 opportunities that he had, he didn't get an interception. I don't even think we ended up having a turnover last night. We just weren't letting them advance the ball. And he went up and made a play on the ball, and that's all you can ask for when you're coaching up the youth, is that they do what you ask them to do. And another thing I'll say that's really great about our team is that there's not parent interference. And if anything, all they're going to do is they're going to come up to their kid on the sideline and say, hey, listen to what your coach said, or listen, and do that. So that's been really, really nice. And also they've done such a great job raising up their kids, which makes them more coachable at that point in time as well. So, yeah, a lot of fun coaching flag football.
So no divas on the team?
No, we don't, man. In fact, no, we really don't have any divas. We've got a team full of kids who all go to the same school outside of one of the children. They all go to the same school. They've been best friends for a long time. I will say that one of our players, I mean, he's going to be a leader, John Andrew Bland. Like, that guy is his leadership, but his personality is just infectious. He's one of those guys, doesn't matter if he's on the field, if he's off the field, he just tries to get everybody in the best mood, and I think that's all you can ask for. So, and we had a special guest on the sidelines with us last night, Jay Henley, the nice school bus driver, actually ended up showing up to a game, so that was a lot of fun. We also have the awards for this year. We're going to dive in at 5:40 this afternoon. We'll dive into the all-county team, but for right now we'll just go over the main awards. Coach Jason Griffin, Arnold's head football coach, ends up winning Bay County Coach of the Year. That's back-to-back for him, also with two different schools. Last year he was over there at Bozeman, led them to, I believe, a Final Four appearance in the... No, I did not do that, by the way, live on the air. Yeah. So anyways, back-to-back years, though, for Jason Griffin getting head coach of the year. Last year doing it with Bozeman, Final Four appearance. I was at two of those games that they hosted at Bozeman. Lots of dramatics, lots of dramatic endings, fireworks, great stuff. And then to come take over an Arnold program who hasn't had this great of a season in over a decade. They scored 12 points last year. They got outscored like 476-12. I might be way embellishing, exaggerating those numbers, but they did only score 12 points. I can guarantee you that. 12 points in a season, that's less than 1 point, or just a little bit more than 1 point a game. But for him to win Coach of the Year with that Arnold Marlins program, just very good stuff there. It just goes to show right now, we talked about this on the Inside Drive a little bit, in the opening segment, where we're at right now with Bay County football. You've seen what Mosley's been able to do, the runs that they've been able to make. Now they're at that hump of let's get over the first round of the playoffs, right? Let's get to the second round. Bay, what Coach Brown is doing over there, they've got some young gunners on that squad that should be back next year, and they should be in a prime position. And it all really depends on how's your offensive line looking. North Bay Haven's got a lot of growing room to go. What Coach Albert Floyd, Coach Nuke has done over there at Rutherford has been nothing short of amazing. If you actually watch that football team and what they've been able to do with the lack of depth that they have overall as a school, not even just their football team, but as a school and where they're growing to, very impressive. And obviously Arnold and Bozeman doing some great things as well. So we'll move on to the Offensive Player of the Year, and that's going to be a shared award, and it will be two Mosley players. The quarterback for the Dolphins, Sam Freitas, and Locavion Jackson will share the Bay County Offensive Player of the Year. You had Sammy finishing his senior year as the quarterback, 2017 passing yards, 23 tutties, 37 rushing yards. No, it had to be
370.
Yeah, but I think he had more than that. My man was running a lot this year. And 4 touchdowns. He was also selected to play in the FACA All-Star Game. And then LoJack finished his senior year with 670 yards, which, mind you, averaging out at 14.6 yards per carry. He had 17 touchdowns to go along with that. And he's going to be he's committed to Mississippi State. Signed to Mississippi State. Had 800 yards from scrimmage, and he was a big part. He was the jack linebacker, kind of that nickelback, if you will, for the Mosley defense and did a great role there. The defense was so strong this year, but so was the offense. So congratulations to Sammy Freitas and to Locavion Jackson. I'm sure Coach Whidden is absolutely proud of y'all's accomplishments and what you were able to do this year. We could have went a little bit further, but hey, that's just the way that the ball falls sometimes, and you just got to bounce back from whatever it is that you can bounce back. And then back to Arnold, Mac Jones. We're not talking about the quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is Mac Jones with a K at the end of Mac. He wins the Bay County Defensive Player of the Year. He finished his junior season as the leader in tackles in Class 4A. He had 158 total tackles, 14.4 per game, which is a astronomical number. Also led his team with 4 sacks and 26 TFLs. So congratulations to Jason Griffin, Bay County Coach of the Year, Sam Freitas and Locavion Jackson sharing the honor of Bay County Offensive Player of the Year, and then Mac Jones winning the Bay County Defensive Player of the Year. We've got the All-County team. We'll talk more about that this afternoon at 5:40. Big news from the NFL, and we're taking your calls and texts today on ESPN Northwest Florida at 850-215-6290. It's Caveman Rick, Adam Goff, and David Hayes. Michael Penix going to be taking over the duties as quarterback 1 for the Atlanta Falcons. How do you feel about that, AG?
I think it's long overdue, honestly.
Oh, really?
I do. I mean, if you've watched the last 5-6 weeks of Kirk Cousins, you've just seen not just a gradual decline, but the guy's abilities, Cousins' abilities have basically fallen off a cliff. I mean, he's not throwing for touchdowns. He's throwing multiple interceptions a game. They're throwing just basic out routes, and the ball's just kind of waffling in the air. It's just not there for whatever reason. Maybe it's the Achilles. Maybe he's banged up with a shoulder. I don't know. Father Time seems to have caught up to him just a little bit. And the weird thing is I think you and I talked about it when I got back from Louisville the last time I went home, and we watched the Niners-Rams. I think it was on Thursday night, that game as well. And Matt Stafford kind of had that look going, but he's kind of had a rejuvenation since that game, right?
He had getting his wide receivers back has helped him out a lot as well, right?
Right, but he's looked stronger, he's looked better, but what we're seeing with Kirk Cousins, man, the bad part is for the Falcons is I think if they go ahead and cut him before the year's out or after the year's out, they still have $65 million in dead cap space between the next 2 years. So it's a huge chunk of change there for the Falcons that are trying to build a winner there in that division, which is completely doable. I mean, you've still got the Bucks, but yeah, I think it's the right move, man. And the Falcons are still sitting there and trying to figure out what do we have. We got a top 10 guy. He sat most of the year, so Cousins isn't getting it done. Let's go ahead and see what we can do, because as of right now, you've got Atlanta with Kyle Pitts, who's going to be gone at the end of the year, I think.
Right.
Free agency, right? I mean, he's not had a very productive career.
Probably one more year with Drake London and then have to make a decision.
Right. So, I mean, you've got a window with Bijan Robinson. Let's see what this future could actually look like with all of those pieces there with Michael Penix and see where we end up.
Why do you got to move off from Pitts? He's only been there for a few years. I mean, he was the first round.
No, not that you have to move off on him, but he's going to be an unrestricted free agent, I believe, because his rookie deal should be up, right?
He's a first round pick.
There'll be a team option there. There'll be a team option there if they choose to pick it up.
Right. And I mean, it's early. Look what, he's had, to work with, Kyle Pitts, bad play calling, and quarterback play. And, so, I mean, if you're, Atlanta, why would you want to do that? I think if anything, you got to hang on to him.
He does have a club option for a 2025.
And at least see how, it works out with Penix. But I think you got to keep Cousins right now, because what's your options if Penix goes down? He's got an injury history, and we've seen with the 18 games, or 18 weeks, 17 games, that is pretty prevalent. You're going to end up using a backup quarterback sooner or later during the regular season, right? So what better thing to, have than a viable, quarterback that's played a pretty significant starting role for like a number of years, a good veteran. So I don't know. I mean, and all the money you're owing him, I mean, I'd rather have him on the roster if you can, and if you got room for him, then just like cut him and waste all that damn money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I'm not saying cut him. I'm just saying that if they, let's say Penix comes in and he starts, lighting the world on fire the next 3 weeks, then Atlanta has a decision to make at the end of the season of, okay, do we keep Cousins on the payroll even though we've got Penix here, rookie contract, very expensive backup, not sure who's going to want to trade for Kirk Cousins with that contract, So, I mean, it's a tough
Who's
spot.
the team that you could see Kirk Cousins fitting in with? And obviously, it's not going to be the same team that we're looking at this year, right? Because we're going to have a whole entire offseason. Trades are going to happen.
Tennessee.
Don't say that. Actually, I mean, hey,
Tennessee.
Kirk Cousins. Hey, if we win 6 games next year, all right, then.
Tennessee.
And also, here's the other thing, though. This is the first year back, and same way with Aaron Rodgers. But Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers, when he hurt his Achilles, it was first drive of the year last year. When Kirk Cousins hurt his Achilles, it was halfway point through the season or so. So we're not seeing obviously the most healthy Kirk Cousins that we've ever seen before. But there's also, and then the other thing is we're talking about the Falcons offense who, yes, do they have weapons? But I mean, it's almost more like it fits in with the mold of the franchise than it does like pointing the finger at Kirk Cousins. But then again, if we look at Kirk Cousins' time at Minnesota, there was a lot of losses in one-time games. There was some really good years and there was some, Kirk Cousins
what does Rick like to call him?
What's that, about not winning in primetime?
Yeah, primetime Cousins,
yeah,
right?
Primetime Cousins.
But I mean, he's kind of corrected that a little bit, I guess, right?
He's played good
against the Bucks twice.
He's played good in primetime games and bad in regular games.
About the Bucks, here's the thing, though, too. They can potentially still win the division because they're 1 game behind Tampa, but they have the tiebreaker with Tampa because they beat them twice already.
Yep.
So I mean,
does it make sense to go to Penix right now?
That's what I was saying yesterday. I don't know if you do.
You've seen what you're getting out of Kirk Cousins right now,
but you still have an opportunity
winning football
to possibly win the division. If you go to Penix now and he just ends up like falling on his face and just sucking it up, then you're really not winning the the division at that point. So
and the Bucks have an easier route to going 3-0. They've got the Panthers, they've got the Saints, and I forget who it is that they have, who the Bucks have this coming up week. Cowboys. They got the Cowboys. But for the Falcons, they've got the Giants. So a good game. Opportunity for Penix to kind of get his feet wet. But then you have the Commanders. You're on the road for that game. That doesn't necessarily look good if you're Kirk Cousins or Michael Penix, but until we see Michael Penix in a game, I still have to say that Kirk Cousins gives you the best opportunity to win that game without seeing Penix. And again, when we see Penix, it's going to be against the Giants. Like, hello,
small sample size, and it's going to be against a bad team.
And it's against
that's
a
what
terrible team.
That's what I mean by small sample size.
Yeah.
Not a lot of info, not a lot of input.
And then the final game, they'll wrap up against the Panthers on the final Sunday in the NFL. But I don't know, man. It's tough for me because I feel like if you're in a spot where you're still fighting for your playoff life, you don't just make moves like this.
Well, we also don't know what's going on in the clubhouse either, right?
The
locker room could be, hey, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and Mooney are
a whole bunch of young guns
are going, hey, we're not getting the ball delivered to us the way we should.
Yeah.
Let's make a change.
Right? Well, and what I would remind them if I'm the head coach is, hey, do y'all remember last year when it was Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke?
If you don't remember, watch Monday night.
There you go. That's a good point as well. But I don't know, man. It's tough for me to make. I see what the Falcons are doing, and it's sensical to an extent. But it would make more sense to me if you're out of the playoff race. Right. When we're sitting here and our eggs are on the table, and there's still a basket to be had for our eggs to get into the playoff basket, then I got to go with what I know to be my best opportunity. And again, I think that this is one of those reasons why Raheem Morris is just not a great head coach.
Well, look at it this way, too. You're talking about, needing backups, right? And you're talking about maybe moving on from Kirk Cousins, trading him or doing what have you. I wouldn't do that again. Like I was saying, look at Kansas City right now. They got to make a decision this weekend with Patrick Mahomes.
They got one of your old guys.
That's what I'm saying. So, so you're going to feel comfortable with a guy like Carson Wentz starting or a guy like a Kirk Cousins as a backup? You know what I mean? I'd be much more comfortable.
But can you pay $100 million or whatever it is for a backup, though?
You can when you have a rookie deal, starting quarterback in Penix. You know what I'm saying? The money's not being utilized on the quarterback that way. And we've seen, like I've said, you're going to have to use two. Sure, it probably wasn't the best decision that they might have made paying him all that money. But again, what were Atlanta's options? You know, it wasn't like they had a wealth of options at quarterback.
That would be the worst thing for Atlanta, though, if Penix in that first game against the Giants suffers some sort of setback or some sort of injury.
100%. That's the risk that you take when you drafted that guy to begin with because of his history, too, you know? Same 100%. Thing with like picking up a guy like Tua.
Yeah, I mean, he absolutely. I remember the first conversation anyone ever asking me about, how do you think Tua will do in the NFL? Does he have the talent? There's no doubt he's got the talent to do it. Does he have the endurance?
The availability.
Yeah, exactly. Availability, as we always say on this show, the best, well, as everyone says everywhere, the best ability is availability. And you're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. Coming up next, we're going to dive into some NFL overreaction from this last week, and we're gonna encourage you guys to call us 850-215-6290. Back after this.
You're home for college football. ESPN Northwest Florida.
The college football playoffs kick off Friday with Indiana at Notre Dame. Coverage starts at 6:30. Then round one continues on Saturday at 11 with SMU at Penn State, followed by Clemson at Texas. And Saturday night at 7, the number 9 Tennessee Volunteers face the number 8 Ohio State Buckeyes on your spot for college football playoffs. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with your weather forecast on this Wednesday. A variety of very light showers and some clouds the remainder of the day with a light breeze coming out of the west-southwest around 5 miles per hour and temps near 72. Tonight we will have some clouds and slight fog and be quite warm at 60. Partly sunny tomorrow at a high 69. Sunshine Friday with a temp of 63. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Are you tired of hearing 2 weeks when you call to get your boat worked on? Hey folks, it's Chris Kramer with Kramer Marine and Outdoor, and we'll get you in and back out on the water as quick as possible. We're a full-line Yamaha outboard dealer and Suzuki outboard dealer, and we have master-trained certified mechanics on site. So if it's just an annual service, electronics install, trolling motor install, or all the way up to a full repower, we can take care of you. So stop by and see us in the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd next to Bill Kramer GM. Or call us at 850-851-0453.
Hello, Tracy's Fine Jewelry.
Hello, Tracy. It's Santa. I'm so busy this year, I really could use your help.
Absolutely, Santa. I'm happy to help.
This year, I want to make sure everyone gets what they ask for, and I know Tracy's Fine Jewelry has the largest selection at the lowest prices.
We sure do, Santa. We have some of the hottest trending styles around, and our cases are packed full of great deals.
Ho, 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 Tracy. I knew you wouldn't let me down.
Folks, shop where Santa shops at Tracy's Fine Jewelry.
It's bowl season on ESPN Radio. 25 bowl games, including a college football playoff and national championship game.
Intercepted! The electricity, the atmosphere. Goes back shoulder! Touchdown!
What a resilient performance.
Next, it's the Boca Raton Bowl. We'll join this one in progress starting at 6.
It's the beauty of college football.
Western Kentucky versus James Madison on your home for college bowl games, ESPN Northwest Florida.
What does it take to live an uncommon life? Here's former Super Bowl winning coach Tony Dungy with today's uncommon moment.
A family from Indianapolis lost their daughter Tessa, a student at the University of Tampa, in a car accident. When Tessa's father spoke at the memorial service, he noted that while he and his family were grieving, they took solace in knowing that they would see Tessa again. And then he said, "But for those of you who don't believe in Jesus, you've seen Tessa for the last time." Then he urged each person there to enter into a relationship with Christ. Jesus is the one and only way to an everlasting life with God. Have you shared, taught, and ingrained that within your family so that each one of them is a child of the living Lord?
Tony Dungy, author of the popular Uncommon book series. More at CoachDungy.com. That's CoachDungy.com.
They said it couldn't be done. The Afternoon Underdogs are live.
They say it can't be done.
Are we going to do what they say can't be done?
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
You're back with the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes, along with Caveman Rick and Adam Goff, also known as Fano, and you're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. You can call or text us at 850-215-6290. Tonight, coming up after the Afternoon Underdogs, we're going to join the Western Kentucky James Madison game in progress. You think they win?
Probably not, but this is my alma mater.
Dude, did you catch any of the Memphis West Virginia game last night?
I saw the beginning of it, and I saw Memphis got up early.
Yeah.
I didn't see how it ended, though.
So Memphis was, I think they got up by 18 at some point in the third quarter or so, and then West Virginia started fighting back. The score was like 42-37. West Virginia scored 2 unanswered touchdowns. Then Memphis gets the ball back. They go for a 50-yard field goal. They miss it, and West Virginia's got about 51 seconds from their own 31-yard line, I think, to travel down the field. They get into Memphis territory rather quickly, and I believe they had no timeouts, and then ended up throwing an interception. But I wasn't watching, and I wasn't watching when the interception had. I was listening to it on the radio, and then I bailed out of the game because I thought it was over. So that was my whole job, was to make sure that we transitioned into the network. But I guess that they reviewed the interception, and it wasn't an interception, but there was a fumble on the play too. I don't know. But anyways, it was a very close game. 42-37, I believe, was the final score. Yeah, 79 points total. So it was, the bowl game so far to this point, Jackson, the Cricket Celebration Bowl, first time in 3 years that Jackson State has won that game. They beat South Carolina State, and the Bulldogs there, T.C. Tracy, I believe, is the head coach now of Jackson State, and they did a heck of a job, man. They really took control of that game from the opening snap and was up 14-0 at halftime. Ended up winning that game 21-7. A little bit boring there. And then you had South Alabama getting their first ever bowl win, 30-23 over Western Michigan. So congratulations to the people of Mobile and the Jaguars of South Alabama. And then you had that game last night. So hopefully we keep it rolling tonight. We've got Western Kentucky and James Madison. And then following that game tonight at about 8 p.m. is going to be Cal and UNLV. I'm taking James Madison in the first game, and I'm going to take UNLV in the second game.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. California hasn't really looked that good. And I want to pull for my tops, and I hope they win, but I feel like James Madison's just too tough.
What do you got in this tonight?
Probably James Madison.
What about Cal and UNLV?
That game, probably UNLV.
All right. I don't know what the spreads are. I know that James Madison is favored over Western Kentucky. I think Cal and UNLV could be a little bit closer, but I would assume that UNLV is going to be the favorite in that game. But keep it locked in here to ESPN Northwest Florida. As soon as we get done with the show, right after the Afternoon Underdogs, we're going to dive in to that Western Kentucky and James Madison game. If you have any questions or any topics you'd like to talk about, you could comment on Facebook, you could comment on YouTube, you could also call or text in 850-215-6290. My question to you, is this an overreaction or not an overreaction? The 49ers should wait to extend Brock Purdy.
I don't think it's an overreaction. I think they should wait. I feel like get him under a franchise tag, try to rebuild. Their window is closing on what they had going on, and we're seeing it right before our eyes.
As a Titans fan, I know exactly what that thing feels like when that window is closing.
That window's closing. John Lynch is arguably one of the best GMs in the league. I feel like he knows what is going to be needed to be done for his franchise. But I feel like with Purdy, you have to wait and see what else you can do before you go and give him this, multi-year deal. Is that a knock on Purdy? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But Purdy isn't going to be the guy that's going to carry a team like a Joe Burrow, like a Lamar Jackson, a Josh Allen. He's not that guy.
Joe Burrow carrying his team to the offseason.
Maybe. We'll see. But
they got to stop digging themselves some holes in September, man.
I get
the first 4 or 5 weeks of the year, man, you dig yourself in a hole. It's hard to come back.
Nobody knows more than I do. But but no, I think with Purdy, does he fit Shanahan's system? Absolutely. Would it shock me to see them extend him? No, because I feel like, I mean, if you make it to back-to-back NFC Championship games and you make it to the Super Bowl, you've probably earned the right to have that contract. But I think what's best for the organization would be to kind of hold, maybe throw him on a franchise tag, see what else you can do with that extra cap space.
Willie Buck chiming in on Facebook saying, what's up, Willie? Kyle Albrecht, when we were talking about Kirk Cousins, he gave two options for Kirk Cousins, the Raiders or the Giants. One of the things that I think Kirk Cousins is going to hold the power to is that he's going to go to a contender. He's going to ask for Atlanta if they do end up trading him as to go to a contender. Let's get some thoughts here from Cleveland and Brad. Brad, you're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. What's going on, my mans?
Dude, it's Titans bread today.
Oh, Titans. Well, so we must be talking negative issues. What do we got?
No, man. So, like, this was kind of out of left field, and I'm not trying to be a brown noser here to the host of the show.
It's okay.
Like, I love to fight the host of the show all the time. You see my text.
Oh, yeah. You make me laugh a lot of the time, too, with your text, though.
Hell yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Heck yeah, I mean, you talk about the Titans a lot, and, the more I think about it, I really actually like the Titans, man. Like, some of my favorite, I guess, like, players and, like, just memories, I'm 37, so, like, there's been some, like, good, kind of fun, unique, like, Titans teams throughout the years.
For sure.
Like the squads with, like, Eddie George.
Oh, man.
Like, were just so awesome. And as an Ohio State fan, I always...
Yeah.
An Ohio State and a Browns fan. So, like, here's the weird thing about being a Browns fan is we had that stretch where we didn't have a team. Like, 99 to, like, 01, I think, we got sold away. So, like, every Browns fan, like, watched somebody else.
Who was your go-to? Was it the Titans for you whenever?
Well, honestly, I was big into N64, and I love Quarterback Club, 94. So
was that Brett Favre on the front of that?
Brett Favre, baby.
Yes, that was, I was, 3 years old?
Yeah. So, and then he also had this, like, I don't know if you remember it. I think it was on AOL, but he had, like, this little show. Like, online back in the day. Like,
I don't remember that, no.
No, I used to watch, like, I just love Brett Favre. But, actually, interesting story. After Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans, I went over and volunteered to, like, cut down trees. And we actually camped out on Brett Favre's high school football field in Mississippi.
Nice.
How about that? That is cool, man.
Yeah, it was. We all got diarrhea really bad. Some people went to the hospital. It was crazy. But yeah, and then I was also, like, I was listening to, I think, was it Dan Patrick earlier had Steve Young on?
Yes, what an interview that was. That was a lot of fun.
Dude, hell yeah. And he was talking about Dan Marino.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just sitting there thinking, like, damn, like, I wish I could have saw Dan Marino. Like, he was really awesome. Like even, like, if Steve Young's talking about him like that, like, I wish I could have saw him live.
Marino was a slinger, man. Like, you want to talk about Brett Favre being a gunslinger. Marino was that, like, carve you up kind of gunslinger. Unfortunately, he was in a situation not all too dissimilar from Burrow, right? Where they reach the Super Bowl earlier in the career, they don't win it, they never make it back. Hopefully that's not the case. But, Marino was always that guy that was kind of he was a generation ahead of everybody, right? When everybody was in a run-first kind of offense, it was defense wins championships, and we're going to run the ball. Marino was like, no, we're not doing that. We're just going to sling it.
He had no wide receivers was his problem. They never gave him any wide receiver help. Because,
Mark Duper, Mark Clayton. He's had some pretty good wide receivers.
He still didn't have the wide receiver help of, like, Joe Montana and stuff with the West Coast offense.
Oh, Jerry Rice? We're comparing people to Jerry Rice?
All right, well, anyways, this was about the Titans.
Yeah,
so, like, after I was thinking about Marino, I was like, like I'm driving around and I'm like kind of bored. So I'm like, what are some other because I just wanted to look up some highlights of players, and I was like, what are some players that I really thought were just the most badass ever? And I went right to Chris Johnson.
Yes.
If Chris Johnson's short career, he was like the Allen Iverson of football, man.
That's such a great take.
It is.
It was
because he was at that time. You had Bob Sanders on defense and Chris Johnson on offense.
Yeah.
That just were 150 miles an hour on every single play.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem with Bob Sanders was he was just always hurt because of it.
Yeah.
But that's the way Allen Iverson played too. Was just go, 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 go. I don't care how much contact I take. I'm going to take it. I'm going to eat it, and I'm going to beat you. Chris Johnson was absolutely that same way. But the difference with Chris Johnson was once he got past you,
he's gone.
You weren't catching him.
He was not. I've never heard that comparison before, Brad. Go ahead.
Yeah, dude. So, and then I was, thinking about the Titans, and then I was like, they also had that dude that fought everybody. What was his name?
Cortland Finnegan. Yep.
Yeah. So, then I just started watching videos of Cortland Finnegan fighting people, and I was like, dude, the Titans are
Andre
sweet.
Johnson?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just decided that today I like the Titans.
Hey, there we go, man. All thanks to Chris Johnson and Cortland Finnegan. It's, I remember.
Too young for getting me even on the thought train. So
that was such a fun interview, too, between Dan Patrick and Steve Young because basically, I forget what it was that Dan Patrick said, and the next thing you know, Steve Young's like, it's Christmas season. I don't know why you got me thinking about my poor performance in 92 against the Cowboys.
Cowboys, yeah.
Oh,
I
man.
just thought it was interesting. He doesn't keep any football stuff in his house.
Yep.
He's just a dad and a husband, and I think, that's really cool. And he seems like the type of guy that, just sees people and just is humble and thinks, wow, they're probably better than me. In reality, he's one of the goats of all time. So
he's got a gold jacket, so that's got a little bit of separation.
387 people in the NFL Hall of Fame.
Is that the
it's
number?
A shockingly low number.
It is. I think K-Man Rick would approve.
And I don't mean to burn Florida State before I let you guys go, but they passed up on one of those gold jackets for their coach. So wow, crazy.
Oh, which are you saying Dion?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
But they've distanced themselves from Dion.
Yeah, well, Dion also had remarks too
he
towards
doesn't even
Florida
have
State.
them on his Wikipedia page. His Wikipedia page wiped Florida State.
Yeah, well, there's that. Travis Hunter kind of recreated. No, actually, that was not a Florida State uniform. That was a Falcons uniform. So that's actually neither here nor there. But Cleveland Brad, we are up against a break. Thanks as always for your phone call, and it was a lot of fun chatting with you, my man. Hey, Merry Christmas too.
You too, guys. See you later.
Hey, there we go. Turning people into Titans fans one day at a time. That is actually kind of wild.
Watch one game.
Yeah, I know. I'm messing people up, and I don't mean to.
Watch one game and Will Levis, and you'll change your mind.
Dave's that guy where your friend shows up and he's like, "Hey, I've been on the wagon for 3 weeks," and Dave's like, "You can have just one.
Yeah, right.
You can just one. Be fine. Come on and be a Titans fan with me."
Yeah, come on. I mean, I've tried to talk Jay Henley into becoming a Titans fan, and just make our existence just a little bit more mundane. But, that's what I found interesting about that phone call is how often do we do that? It's been a long time since we've thought about a certain player. We do it all the time with I think y'all did it last Wednesday, the Man Cave jerseys. And of this team, what player, if you could only pick one jersey from that team, who would it be? And I love going back and watching old highlights because one, this, generation that we're in and having the things that we have access to, being able to learn about players who I wasn't able to watch, and being able to go back and watch them is it's a privilege that we have. And there's a ton of players that I've learned about, not because I was able to watch them, but to go back and learn about them.
In my NFL man cave for the Titans, I would have the Titans jersey in the row or whatever. Mm-hmm. I would have Kevin Dyson.
Oh.
But then I would have
Mike Jones with the Rams.
Have it 6 inches to the left.
Uh-huh.
So that it wasn't close to the one that's on the right. So it was just short.
Yeah.
just short of the jersey next to him.
And then you'd have a Rams jersey right in front of him, and it would be Mike Jones, the guy who made the tackle on Kevin Dyson to keep the Titans from winning the Super Bowl. What was I, 8 or 9 years old, and watching that? I just remember being like, no, like, we were so close. That was such a fun year of football. But, I mean, every year has been fun as a Titans fan because, honestly, and I think most fans... We'll talk a little bit more about this when we get back, but as a fan, when you go into a season with low expectations, really nothing can harm you. But when you're it doesn't bother you as much when you take losses. But when you go into a season as a fan with high expectations, then any loss can break your little heart. So let's talk a little bit more about that. And if you'd like to chime in via the phone, we'll take your call at 850-215-6290. More after this.
Just in. Get the latest sports news, scores, and updates from 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Follow us on Facebook for exclusive content, behind-the-scenes action, live streams, and the chance to interact with your favorite hosts.
Stay connected. Stay connected. Stay connected.
Join the conversation on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Search for ESPN Northwest Florida and crush the follow button.
I follow you on social media.
We're always here to keep you in the game.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with your weather forecast on this Wednesday. A variety of very light showers and some clouds the remainder of the day with a light breeze coming out of the west-southwest around 5 miles per hour and temps near 72. Tonight we will have some clouds and slight fog and be quite warm at 60. Partly sunny tomorrow and a high 69. Sunshine Friday with a temp of 63. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hewitt Tire and Auto. Call 850-769-7323. Your certified AAA service center and hometown towing. Visit them online at HewittTire.com. On Airport Road in Panama City. 850-769-7323. Hewitt Tire and Auto Center and hometown towing.
Need a tow? Call Billy at Hometown Towing, 850-265-1562.
As a realtor, it's important who you choose as your title company. May we suggest South Oak Title? Their offices are modern, comfortable, and state-of-the-art. South Oak Title can close transactions in any location in Florida, Alabama, and Tennessee. Their free mobile app allows realtors to deliver a net sheet in seconds. They provide mobile closing services to accommodate buyers and sellers. Their offices are beautifully decorated, state-of-the-art, complete, safe, and secure. South Oak Title, creating a better title and closing experience through technology and tailored service. Visit them online at southoaktitle.com.
It's bowl season on ESPN Radio. 25 bowl games, including the college football playoff and national championship game.
Intercepted! The electricity, the atmosphere. Goes back shoulder! Touchdown!
What a resilient performance.
Tonight, it's the LA Bowl. California versus UNLV. Kickoff at 8 right here.
It's the beauty of college football.
On your home for college bowl games, ESPN Northwest Florida.
It's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog. Now, the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida.
You're back with the Afternoon Underdogs in the doghouse here. Tuned into ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 here in Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. We are your home for college football here in the Gulf Coast. And Western Kentucky and James Madison right now are already underway. They've got 10:40 left here to play in the first quarter. We will be joining that game in progress. Also want to remind you guys about Wrestling Against Cancer 10. That's presented by us here at ESPN Northwest Florida. Jack Patterson, I believe Waylon's going to be putting this event on. All proceeds from this event will be going to my cousin, Ryan Holland, for his cancer medical expenses. This is going to be at the Bay Haven Charter Academy, as it has been for the last 3 years. Tickets right now, $20 if you want to get on the front row, which the people on the front row have a blast, and I interact with a lot of the people on the front row as well, if I'll be doing the announcing, if they have me doing the announcing. But whatever Jack or anyone asks me to do, I will be front and center, ready to go. $12 for adults, $8 for kids who are 6 to to 17, and then children 5 and under get in free. Doors are going to open at 5:30, and the bell will ring at 6:30. This means this one is something that all of these have meant a lot to me. This is the one wrestling show where I'm like, all right, I'm gung-ho for it. Whatever you want to do, we'll do it. This one touches a little bit closer to home. We've had a lot of death in the family lately as well. I'm sorry to laugh about that, but I guess humor is the best way that I get by. And so it would mean a lot to me and to the family if you guys could come out there and support. And even if you can't make it, which I would love to have that gym just absolutely packed to the brim, but if you can't make it, we'll still take donations and make sure that those get over to Ryan. The medical expenses that you incur by dealing with something like that, as most of you know, someone who is dealing with cancer, it's astronomical, man. Willie Buck says, I was happy that Florida State Seminoles basketball men beat Winthrop basketball men in basketball last night. So there you go, Willie. We're happy for you. We left off talking Caveman Rick, Adam Goff. I'm David Hayes. We're the Afternoon Underdogs. We talked going into the season. If your team, like this year, the Tennessee Titans, you go into the season, you have low expectations. For me as an Alabama fan, I was not like most other Alabama fans where there was high expectations. Now, in the weeks leading up to the season, I did pick them to go 12-0, but I realized that there was a real opportunity for them to go 8-4 or 12-0. They had a good.
But then 8-4 didn't involve Vanderbilt and Tennessee.
No, Tennessee, yes, Tennessee was one. Oklahoma at the beginning of the year, yes, because I didn't know what Oklahoma was bringing to the table. Oklahoma by week 4, absolutely not. Yeah. Vanderbilt, when we lost to them, no. Vanderbilt at the end of the season, okay, it makes a little bit more sense. That's the one for me that everyone's like, oh, you lost to Vandy. I'm like, Texas almost lost to Vandy. Like, there was a bunch of teams this year.
Tech week 1 lost to Vandy.
And that was a big surprise, right? And Diego Pavia did a real good job. And I mean, one of the most intriguing bowl games on the schedule to me is Vanderbilt and Georgia Tech. That's going to be. I think that's going to be a great game. You can also listen to that one right here on ESPN.
Well, it's going to be a great
Florida.
game if Haynes King returns. We know Singleton has already entered the portal for Georgia Tech. That's a big loss at wide receiver. Going to be a big pickup somewhere for him as a wide receiver. Jamal Haynes, does he stay? We don't know yet. So still some moving parts there with Georgia Tech, but obviously with that coaching staff at Georgia Tech, they'll have him ready to go. And, yeah, I think it will be a good game.
Yeah, I'm excited for it either way, because I think with the type of teams that those teams have, guys leaving, hitting the transfer portal, I don't think it affects you the same way as like the Ohio States, the Alabamas, the Tennessees. You know what I mean? Like, you're losing some high-value players. Not that these other guys aren't high-value players, but they're used to not having some of the studs and still having to go out there and compete. But when you're a fan and you have low expectations, I think it's a lot easier to just watch and be like, whatever happens, happens. If we get a win, that's great. Like, as a Titans fan, week 1 was against the Chicago Bears, and you're like, there's no way we're going to lose to the Chicago Bears and a rookie quarterback in week 1. And then we start out looking phenomenal, and then we give up the ghost and lose it, and it's like, all right, I know how this season's going now. Like, I thought I knew before, but with Alabama, it's one of those for so long, really since 2008, the second year of Nick Saban. More or less 2009 is where the expectations started to rise, and then you got to a point or after the championship against Texas, now you're going into any of those seasons and you're just like, we're championship or bust. And I feel like that is, there's a reality behind it, but as a fan, when you have that championship or bust mindset, it's a lot less enjoyable to watch the games. How do you guys feel about that? You're an Eagles fan, lots of high expectations for you. You guys are living up to the expectations. You're a Bengals fan. I think that there's been high expectations since the Super Bowl for Joe Burrow, not living up to the expectations in the terms of being a team as a whole.
Yeah, like for me, I mean, if I have high expectations, like you're saying, and my team loses a couple and we're not looking as great as, I'm thinking, or the pundits out there think that we should be playing, I feel like I'm totally down in the dumps because, what's worse than watching your team, like, you're not even halfway through the season and know you're pretty much out of the playoffs, right? That's a pretty, crappy feeling because you got the rest of the season that you care about, watching a good game like football being played, and then when your team's not relevant anymore, it takes a lot of the fun out of it.
It does. I mean, as a lifelong Bengals fan, we had a lot of years of, okay, this is the year, and then it just never really happened.
He's going all the way back to the Icky Woods days,
well, no, I mean, but you had Carson Palmer, right?
Yeah.
And
then even the Red Rifle afterwards.
Well, but arguably that Carson Palmer year, Chris Henry, rest in peace, Chad Johnson, T.J. Spanzata, that team was loaded offensively and defensively, and probably would have won the Super Bowl that year. They were a favorite. Then, of course, first quarter, Kimo Von Ohoffen, former Bengal, knocks out Carson Palmer. Then Andy Dalton comes in. We're the overall number 1 seed in the AFC. I was at the game against the Chargers. We bungled. We fumbled twice, right, and lost that game. And then, so you have ups and downs as a fan, but when you experience 31 years of not winning a playoff game, and then you finally do win one, and you seemingly have the core, the nucleus of that coming back, there are expectations. The following year, the Bengals went to the AFC Championship game. We lost to Kansas City on the road. Again, because like Caveman alluded to earlier, really slow start, put us behind the 8 ball. We had to play catch up. So, does it make the season worse? Like this year, for instance, the Bengals hasn't really been our year. Yeah. Right? Is there still an outside shot? Absolutely.
Yeah, let's go.
I'm not holding on to that. I'm not holding on to it, but it's still there. It's in the back of your mind. It's okay. Well, we've got to do our thing and we need some help, but at the end of the day, the season is a failure. Yeah. And we saw that with Burrow on the sideline on Sunday when he was jabbering back and forth, and apparently there's a million lip readers out there I didn't know about because they're pretty good about it. Yeah. So it's one of those things that, does it put you down in the dumps? It does, but at the end of the day, it's a different down in the dumps for you because you don't have Joe Burrow. Yeah. I have Joe Burrow. Right. You have Mayo Boy. Right. Mayo Boy.
I would feel worse if I was David and Adam. At least you, Adam, you have somebody with talent playing quarterback. You have talent at wide receiver. So, there's hope there. If you're a Titans fan, what hope do you have?
You hope to win 5 games next year.
Or you hope that the airplane goes down and we have to start over from scratch and rebuild. You know what I'm saying?
Well, then,
I hate to say something as horrible as that, but you know what I mean?
What about a Cowboys fan? Okay, let's look at a Cowboys fan.
You got to hope that the plane goes down with Jerry Jones if you're a Cowboys fan.
Steve Young was saying the same thing on that interview today. I've been saying
that for a dozen years or more, dude. As 100%. Long as that guy is breathing, I have nothing to worry about from the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, Steve was also saying that they need a head coach that will make roster moves on his own and is not going to.
They need somebody that can be empowered. The problem is
that's exactly what that means.
Oh, I was going to say. The coach can't make the decisions though. He has to be able to make the decisions.
That's what I'm saying. So, it's not Jerry Jones tells him what to do and then he goes and does it. It's this guy is making the decision and Jerry Jones is living and dying by the decisions made by the head coach
or the GM. But somebody has to be empowered.
Who's the GM over there? Is it Stephen Jones?
Jerry Jones is the GM.
Oh, he's actually.
That's why they have a problem. Is because he's meddlesome. The owner is supposed to own. He's supposed to just sign the checks.
I think his son is part of that thing, right? But ultimately,
it's president and GM.
Right, but I'm saying his son is in that mix. But ultimately, it's Jerry Jones'
owner,
decision.
carnival barker, popcorn vendor, radio host.
He's technically right. He's always on 105.3 The Fan. So,
I mean, he wears many hats, as they say.
He does, man. And but I mean. As a Cowboys fan, if you're a Cowboys fan, and all right, so you're used to having these great regular seasons, and then getting into the playoffs, and what in the world happens there, no one knows outside of the Dallas Cowboys. But then this year, you don't have that at all. You don't have a good regular season, but Cooper Rush has been, fighting for y'all's playoff lives. So I think that there's still a playoff chance for the Dallas Cowboys. But we were talking about your Cincinnati Bengals there. What is it that the Bengals have to do to get into the playoffs?
Okay, so they have to win out ultimately. That's the first, right? So we've got Browns on Sunday, then we've got the Broncos coming in next Saturday, then it's the Steelers, right, for Week 18. We have to have one more loss by the Colts, and one more loss by the Dolphins. Plus, we need either the Broncos or the Chargers to go 0-3.
Yeah.
Right? The most likely scenario would be us win out and the Dolphins lose this week and the Broncos go winless.
Yeah.
Because the Broncos can lose tomorrow to the Chargers, to the Bengals on Saturday next week, and then they have the Chiefs on at week 18. That's the most likely road or scenario. But I'm not holding out hope.
Yeah, there's not much hope to be had there.
Still back there in the back of your mind, because I know that with this offense, not a team in the AFC wants to see us in the playoffs.
They don't want to see your offense, but they'll leak right through your defense, though.
Granted, but do you? I mean, we've seen Burrow in the playoffs and what that team can do offensively. I don't think anybody wants to see the Bengals in there.
If you could run the ball,
I think you'd much rather see Justin Herbert or Bo Nix in there as opposed to Joe Burrow.
If you can run the ball and just keep your offense off the field and just kill the clock and be able to score, they'll probably be fine.
Who do you think ends up winning the AFC North? Do you think
Pittsburgh?
You think Steelers hang on to it? They have another. They play. What is it? Is it this Saturday that they play?
They play Saturday against the.
Well, no, I'm saying Steelers, and that's what I'm saying. Steelers and the Ravens play against each other. So yeah, they got the Steelers and the Ravens. So if the Ravens win, then that ties the division up right there. And then the Steelers have the Chiefs and the Bengals. So you would have to imagine right there that the Ravens actually have the easier schedule, and that's without me seeing it. But so the Ravens have the Steelers, Texans, and the Browns, which the Browns are also known for,
they're starting DTR
teams
right now, too.
Yeah, I know. How do we feel about that? Let's talk a little bit more about that at the top of the hour. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. We'll talk a little DTR being QB1 for the Browns. Then we'll dive into the first round of the college football playoffs.
Just in time for the holidays and not by popular demand, Coach Hale sings his favorites. And who can forget? To a burn ring of fire, down, down, down. That flame red higher. It's that burn, that ring of fire. Oh, plus this one. Don't know the word. Coach James Hale, it's a good thing he knows sports, because he doesn't sing worth a big show today. Big, big, big.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with your weather forecast on this Wednesday. A variety of very light showers and some clouds the remainder of the day, with a light breeze coming out of the west-southwest around 5 miles per hour and temps near 72. Tonight we will have some clouds and slight fog and be quite warm at 60. Partly sunny tomorrow and a high 69. Sunshine Friday with a temp of 63. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
It's the Season of New Traditions sales event going on now at Bill Bird Kia. Now offering 1.9% APR for up to 60 months of the purchase of a new 2025 Kia Sorento or a new 2025 Kia Sportage. Take your next holiday adventure in a brand new Kia from Bill Bird Kia. You'll get the perfect balance of comfort, safety, and technology. Bill Bird Kia is the home of the 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Stop by and see us at 2435 East 15th Street or anytime at BillBirdKia.PanamaCity.com.
Offer from Kia Finance America for the purchase of a new 2025 Kia Sorento or new 2025 Kia Sportage with $1,748 per month per 1,000 financed in 60 months. Quantities limited. Not to be combined with other finance offers and not available on balloon financing. The 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty is a Bill Bird Kia warranty. See dealer for complete details. Offer for well-qualified buyers. Must take delivery from dealer stock through 1/2/25.
It's bowl season on ESPN Radio. 25 bowl games, including the college football playoff and national championship game.
Intercepted! The electricity, the atmosphere. Goes back shoulder! Touchdown!
What a resilient performance.
next. It's the Boca Raton Bowl. We'll join this one in progress starting at 6.
It's the beauty of college football.
Western Kentucky versus James Madison on your home for college bowl games, ESPN, Northwest Florida.
Northwest Florida's home for college football bowl games. WGSX Linden and WPLQ Port St. Joe.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
And powered by Panama City Toyota.
ESPN Northwest Florida, your spot for college football bowl games and playoffs. As you just heard Bone Crusher mention there, we're going to join the Boca Raton Bowl in progress. Right now, it's James Madison on top of the Hilltoppers of Western Kentucky 7-0. And then Friday, we'll get you over there to Florida and Tulane, and then the first round of the college football playoffs. Indiana, Notre Dame. Should be a lot of fun. Y'all let me know in the comments or by text in 850-215-6290 who you got in the Indiana Notre Dame game. We did get a text in from a random number that has never texted the station before, at least with our new texting system, and they said they're a Dallas fan. So our condolences are with you for this year. How do you feel, Dallas fan? I don't know what your name is. You can text us your name so I can respond to you, but who would you like to see? Cooper Rush next year, or do you think Dak Prescott? Obviously, they got to continue with Dak, right? Or does Jerry Jones?
Contract.
He's got a big contract over there with the Dallas Cowboys. But, I mean, hey, does Jerry think maybe that Cooper Rush puts him in a better position to win? We'll find out, I guess, during the offseason. But I'm curious to know how Dallas fans
Here you go. Trade Dak
think about.
To Tennessee.
I'll take Dak in Tennessee.
Okay, trade Dak to Tennessee for a couple, second rounders and a third rounder, and then call it a day.
2 years ago, I would have taken Aaron Rodgers in Tennessee. I would have been like, hey, let's see how this experiment works.
Remember, he was building a house there in Nashville, and
right.
losing their minds.
Yeah. It was like, okay, we might be getting Aaron Rodgers. Now where we stand, I don't know. I don't want to deal with that drama. I don't want to deal with having to listen to the Pat McAfee show and Aaron Rodgers is talking about the Tennessee Titans.
Some of God's greatest gifts are unanswered prayers, buddy.
Yes. That is a great point and a great quote right there. DTR going to be QB1 for the Browns. Jameis Winston has shown flashes of success and shown plenty of footage of pick sixes and interceptions out the wazoo. What do you think about this move here for the Browns? I honestly really do like DTR. I thought my initial reaction when Deshaun Watson first got injured, it was like we should be going to Jameis Winston, or the Browns should be going to Jameis Winston, but they went DTR. He struggled, and then they go to Jameis Winston to be the starter, and now they're reversing course. Do you like this move? I think that is very similar to an extent of the Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix. Obviously different, but it has shades of that situation. I think that this is the right move by the Browns. We've seen great things from DTR in preseason football, especially his rookie year. Let's see how you do when you're going to be going up against some teams that have playoff aspirations. And for some teams like the Bengals, every game from here on out is a playoff game.
Well, if I'm the Browns, I get the move where you have to see what you have in the young man before you move forward. Obviously they're not thinking drafting a quarterback with Deshaun Watson's giant contract. I believe they even came out and said that he is going to be the QB1 next year again. So,
no.
So I think in order for them to kind of move forward, they are going to have to see what they're going to get out of DTR. From a fantasy perspective, I hate it because I have Jerry Jeudy in 3 leagues.
Oh, yeah.
So that really, really hurts.
And Jameis Winston and Jerry Jeudy were on the same page.
Cooking, man. So, but I understand it, and if you're going to have DTR start against a defense in the league, start him against the Bengals. Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, you probably have the least amount of pressure on him because outside of Trey Hendrickson, who leads the league in sacks, the Bengals do not get to the quarterback. The secondary is completely banged up, so you will have potentially wide receivers running free.
Are y'all missing a Wuze or Jesse Bates more?
Bates.
Bates,
yeah. Lou Anarumo's defense is built from the back front to the forward, right? So when we were having our run and it was Von Bell and Jesse Bates, Von Bell in his prime, or toward the end of his prime, it was the defense was predicated on them being able to assist on the outside as well as cover the inside and have that the two linebackers in the middle. Now, granted, we're missing Logan Wilson. Jermaine Pratt's not doing what he's supposed to do. Again, there's failures all across the board defensively. But getting back to Cleveland, I think it's a perfect opportunity for Cleveland to start him in this game just because of what the Bengals defense doesn't offer, right? They don't offer pressure. They don't offer the ability to turn the ball over unless it's the Tennessee Titans. But so I get it, but at the same time, like I really, really like for Jameis to get another shot, at least for a couple weeks.
I think it's posturing. I think it's doing something without doing anything. I think they already know what they got in DTR, and it's not much. I mean, he's been in and out, starting, pretty much since he's got there. They've, used him in flashes here or there. If he was something that they, thought could be something sustainable, I think he would already be starting. You know what I mean? And they wouldn't have Jameis Winston, come in. So I think the answer is already, the writing's already on the wall. I think they're just doing this because, being, Cleveland, and having the fan base, they got a diehard fan base for as bad as that team is, and you have to make it look like you're still trying to do something, like you're still trying to win, even if you're really not doing anything. And I think that's basically just kind of what they're doing.
Hey, that's one thing I will say about the Titans is that we haven't tanked. We're just really bad. There hasn't been hey, we're going to lose these games on purpose. They're just really, it's been really hard to watch 60 minutes of their football games throughout the course of the year. And I haven't watched very many games where I've watched all 60 minutes. There's been a lot more red zone for me this year.
Rough for me too. I'm an Eagles fan.
It's rough being 11-2. All right, teams. Let's talk about how spoiled you are.
Okay. Yeah, my hockey team hasn't even won a championship in my lifetime.
Well, we're not talking about overall. We're talking about the Eagles.
But I'm just saying sports in general is the point I was going to make. It's anytime my team is playing poorly, even in the middle of a game, if it's getting really bad and they're really crap in the bed, I'm going to change the channel. Yeah, because I'm either going to drink too much, or I'm going to start yelling and cussing, and it's going to ruin my day. And it's and
the day's already over.
Why
most of the time.
Sit there and just watch that and just get more mad and just more angry and more frustrated?
Man, and I remember, especially with Alabama games, but I remember when I would get mad that we lost. But I think after, the Lightning won. You talk about spoiled as a
you're the most spoiled sports fan I know. As long as Braves, Lightning, Bama,
when your team screws the pooch,
Titans-ish.
When your team screws the pooch, and they're the problem, and it wasn't they got beat by a superior team. It was they're doing boneheaded plays and doing dumb stuff. That's what's even more frustrating. You know?
The Pacers have never won a championship. Titans have never won a championship. So still awaiting those to happen. I don't foresee the Pacers. It's so crazy how much of a basketball area, let's say state for Indiana, how much of a basketball state it is.
It's because of the college, not the pro.
Yeah, no, 100%. But still,
It's SEC territory. Where's all the football championships in the Southeast and NFL? There's not. They're in NCAA.
Oh, in the NFL?
Yeah,
Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Twice.
Okay, a couple times, but I'm saying Miami once or a couple times. But what I'm saying in the grand scheme of things, Atlanta's never won, Jacksonville's never won.
But our players are all over the NFL.
Saints won once, you know what I'm saying, and been an exercise in futility for most of their, existence. Tennessee hasn't
right
won.
Now, if you count Dallas as part of the SEC being Texas, you have a bunch of Cowboys.
That's what I'm saying. And Houston's haven't won yet. You know what I'm saying? So you can go all over the Southeast, and there's not very many Super Bowl championships.
Yeah, that's a good point. But if we look at the state of hockey right now, it is the state of Florida. How about that, man?
Again?
Right now, I don't even know.
Lightning and Panthers still doing their thing?
Yeah, they're still, the pickup, I believe his name is Hertzel, is the guy.
Thomas Hertel.
Yeah, no, not Hertel. The new guy, he was with Carolina last year. Now he's on the Lightning. Oh man, what's his name? It's kind of a weird last name, but he stepped into the role very nicely. But right now when it's football season, I'll start paying a little bit more attention to hockey whenever I see all the scores and I keep up with the with what Gensel. Gensel is what Jake Gensel. Okay. Yeah, Jake Gensel. Thomas Hertel, is he still playing?
Maybe.
He was big with the Sharks back in the day.
He might be. That's why I thought maybe it was him.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes, though. I mean, the Bolts right now 17-10-2, and you got Florida at 19-11-2. So yeah, they're both playing pretty good, some decent hockey, and we'll see can they keep the stretch of Stanley Cup championships here in the most southern state in the United States. Do you think is Edmonton? Is there?
I got a futures bet on them, so I'm hoping they're going to do something. But we'll see.
Connor McDavid's already back from his injury, isn't he?
I believe so.
Yeah, that was not a good situation for Edmonton and the Oilers, but they've bounced back from that. And we'll talk a little bit more hockey, though, after we get through the season in which we're in here in the Southeast, which football is king, and what we're a little less than 100 days away from, or maybe a little over 100 days away from Major League Baseball season. And have you had an opportunity on the show to talk about Juan Soto going to the Mets and give your thoughts on that?
No, but again, I mean, it is what it is. This is the direction that baseball is heading. Until there's actual reform to the way baseball is contractually.
So you want to see a salary cap?
Not necessarily a salary cap. I don't think that that's possible, but I do feel like there's ways to encourage owners to spend more money. Because if you continue to not spend like a league average, right? If you're not spending at least the league average and you don't have success, this is my formula, right? So let's say the league average is $150 million a year in payroll. Okay. So let's say you spend 150, which is the bare minimum that you're supposed to spend, and you do that for 5 years and you do not make the playoffs. Then at that point, your salary cap, your floor, if you will, has to go up. Because at this point, you're still not trying to win. You're just trying to get by. And that's not what baseball should be about, right? Like Mark Cuban said it best when they were trying to get him to buy the Pittsburgh Pirates, right? He said, yeah, I would love to buy the Pirates. He said, but why in the world would they sell that to me? Yeah. He said, because these owners for the Pirates can sit in the town square and have rocks hurled at them all day long, and they're just going to keep collecting millions and millions of dollars every single year. And it's the same way with a lot of these franchises, including my Reds, where nothing is going to change until something has to change.
Don't you think ownerships groups will like the owners themselves? It'll come to a point where, like, a lot of these, like, sports, baseball, football, it started with, like, old-time money, old people money, right? And then it got bigger, and as it grew, people that didn't, like, have their basis in that sport and didn't, like, have it as a family business, making their money in other things, be it, like, tech or real estate or oil or, like, Hollywood or whatever, and then buying the team, like, the ownerships, they're going to be deciding like, hey, we don't want these small-time owners because they're holding us back, right? And almost force out these owners that are just like using the team to just make their own money. And instead of it being like their shiny toy, like a lot of these owners are treating like their franchises that they buy because they have so much money that they can just blow on whatever. That, I think it'd be holding some of these leagues as a whole back because it's not quite as competitive. And I think sooner or later you'd want to force some of those guys out if they're not trying to progress, not trying to grow, not trying to make the game better, not trying to have parity, if you will. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the thing that hurts baseball right now is when a team like the D-backs makes a deep run and goes to the World Series, when you have a team that...
like Miami or the Rays.
The Royals coming out of nowhere, right? I mean, like when you have a team that makes that deep run, either wins it or doesn't win it, and they're not spending the money, then that gives ammunition to these owners that sit back on their thumbs and just collect a paycheck to say, oh, well, look, we're just trying to follow their model and we don't have to do it. But if we're going to continue to see Dodgers, Yankees every year, then that's going to force owners and baseball to actually make the change. Yeah. Because until we have these teams just getting absolutely dominated, I mean, if it's the Dodgers, Mets, and the NLCS every single year, because of their budget and their payroll, that's the only way that anything's going to change. Because at some point there's going to be fatigue from fans, from media, from everybody of, why are we going through a 162 game season to watch the same result every single year?
Yeah, let's just go to a 16 game season.
But it's not going to change until these teams actually do it.
Yeah, and you would like to see the teams like the Pirates. You have a generational talent in Paul Skeens. Like, build around him. Do something with that. Don't just ship him off. Ellie De La Cruz with the Reds, which that one's such an anomaly. Not Ellie, but the Reds, where it was like 2 years ago, they, kind of seemed like they were going to sniff the playoffs, but they really haven't done anything with the roster, and you would like to see them, and all of the issues that you guys have had with injuries and health, but it's nice when you see those smaller markets finding a way in and making those runs. As you mentioned, the Diamondbacks, the Rays are a team that's normally there. I think that the AL East is just such a monster to get out of. Even Baltimore, though, for them to finally start having some success with all of the young talent that they have, that's a lot of fun. To keep track of. But yeah, when you're seeing the teams like the Dodgers with almost over $1 billion in deferred payments, that shouldn't be allowed. I really don't. I think that you can take a certain player, and I don't think that you should ever be able to defer payments on an original contract. I know that that's not how it goes, but if you're coming over to this team for the first time, you should not be able to defer payments. Now, if we're re-signing you, then we can defer payments.
But here's the thing, though, right? Every team, every owner has the same ability to do what the Dodgers have done.
Right.
Now,
but the Dodgers know they're going to make that money back, though.
Right. But if you're a team that's trying and you have this young core like the Orioles,
A's.
Like the A's are a perfect... No, they are.
Okay.
The A's have a core and a nucleus that is super young and super talented. Their problem is their ownership group just doesn't know where to put them right now.
Sacramento
they're
is
the
where they're
Los
going to be.
Oaklamento A's right now, right? So, but they're a perfect example of if they would just go and try to get some pieces, defer some payment, guess what? The fans are gonna come. They're gonna pack the place out. You're gonna sell more stuff, more tickets and everything that goes with it. And your TV contract is gonna go up. Why do you think the Dodgers have the best TV contract? It's not just because they live in the largest market in the country. It's because they pack out the place every single game.
Yeah.
And the eyes are glued to the TV every single game. And that's the reason that their TV contract is what it is. And it affords them the ability to, say, yeah, you know what, we're going to mortgage our payroll, essentially, and we're going to pay it off in 10 years.
Oh, my goodness, man. I don't think it's the greatest thing for baseball. I really don't know which side of the fence that I'm on. With the Juan Soto going to the Mets, because there's the Brave side of me that hates that, but then there's also the baseball fan of me that hates the Yankees, and it's like, well, I'm glad that you didn't stay with the Yankees, but I think we're more affected by the Mets. Obviously, we are more affected. The Atlanta Braves are more affected by Juan Soto going to the Mets, but how awesome would it be for them to, just do what they always do and made it up at the end every year?
Why do you think Juan Soto going there and them spending all that money is going to make a difference? I don't.
Well, if we're going off the trends,
show me the difference,
right?
And then
but
I'll believe it.
And I'm with you there, but also you look at the Mets team from last year, and they did lose Conforto. I believe Conforto's a Dodger as well now. But you didn't lose. They haven't lost a ton, I believe.
Alonso is a free agent.
But
Pete
don't
Alonso.
you think if you're Pete Alonso and then you find out Juan Soto's going to be on the Mets,
it depends on whether or not the owner wants to take on that big contract for a 200 hitter.
Yeah, that's a good point. Do you want
Especially
the bombs and the RBIs, or do you want the average? Yeah, that's a good point.
Because if I'm the Mets, I look at what I have coming up from the minors, right, where I've got Ronnie Mauricio coming off an ACL, who is like Timu Ellie. I mean, he's big, strong, he's fast, he hits bombs.
A little bit cheaper, but might break easier.
Right. So he's Wish Ellie, right? Yeah. Timu Ellie. But he's a really, really good ball player. They've got Vientos over at third, who's been really, really good. Ronald's little brother, Luis Angel, got called up at the end of the year. He's really good. They've got
That's someone Caveman Rick would love to see go off.
So do you put Vientos? He has Brian Acuna.
Yeah, Brian's the one.
He has Baby Acuna.
Brian's.
But if you
you don't have Luis Angel?
No, he has Brian Acuna.
Oh, okay.
But Vientos, move him over to first if you lose Alonso, and then you're filling in gaps with these guys that you've had in your system for a couple years, and some that you've added last year with the trades with the Astros and the Rangers, respectively. So, there's some pieces there already in place for the Mets to really make a run, even if they don't sign Pete Alonso. But is Pete Alonso going to re-sign with the Mets? Probably so.
I think that he just might do that.
He probably wants to win, though. You know what I mean? And it's like, are you going to win really with New York Mets? I mean, you could think all this money that they're throwing around, but like I said, again, what difference has it made in the past?
I get that, and again, I get that trend, but I feel like when you've got an owner who did what he did to bring in Justin Verlander and Scherzer, realized with the quickness, took a huge hit, realized with the quickness it wasn't going to work, and then instead of saying, we're not going to do that anymore, comes back and then outbids the New York Yankees, the juggernauts of spending money in baseball.
Did you hear the rumor on why he chose the Mets over the Yankees?
Why is that?
There was a suite deal, like SUITE, where he wanted a suite for his family every game there at City, and he wanted one at Yankees. And
so he wanted one in both stadiums?
For each contract, right? So,
gotcha.
So, but the Yankees weren't willing to give him a suite.
So not only did he end up getting the suite, he got a sweeter deal by going to the New York Mets as well. Well, Steve Cohen has, he made a great move right there. Now, will it work? We won't know that. And so I honestly think that the Mets kind of start out pedestrian. They catch some heat in the middle of the season, and then they met it up next year. And I would love to see for 16 years, however long it was, 15 years, right? 15 years, it just goes down. I don't think that he's there for the totality of the 15-year contract. I mean, we saw with Pujols.
Nobody ever is.
Maybe
for
10
the
years.
Of a contract like that. Nobody's ever going to last the existence.
Maybe a decade, but we'll see how it plays out. Coming up next, we've got to dive into Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, which guy should be the MVP. We've got to dive into would you play Mahomes. So we'll save Lamar and Josh Allen debate for 540. We'll save Patrick Mahomes for 540. Coming up next, let's dive into the first round of the college football playoffs. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. Stay tuned for our picks coming up next.
You're home for the NFL. ESPN Northwest Florida.
This Sunday, it's an NFL triple header. First, the Cardinals are at the Carolina Panthers. Kickoff at noon. Followed by the San Francisco 49ers at the Miami Dolphins. Then Sunday Night Football as the Tampa Bay Bucks try to hold on to first place in the NFC South, where they square off versus the Dallas Cowboys. Kickoff at 7:20 on your home for the NFL. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good evening. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. For tonight, a mixture of very light rain and some clouds and a low of 62 with wind 3 to 7 miles per hour out of the north-northwest. Mostly sunshine tomorrow morning, a gentle breeze and quite warm near 67. Clear and 69 in the afternoon and evening. 64 and sunshine with a gentle breeze Friday. This is your Wednesday's weather brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
With over 65 years of combined experience, Instant Replay Sports Cards is happy to help you take your collection to the next level. They carry all the new hobby boxes, signed memorabilia, and supplies. New and vintage cards and Pokemon. They sell and trade cards and are always looking to buy. They're an authorized source for Topps, Panini, Upper Deck, and Leaf cards. Instant Replay Sports Cards is open 7 days a week at 752 West 23rd Street, down from Academy Sports. It can always be reached at InstantReplaySportsCards.com.
Whether you're an experienced investor or first-time buyer, Beach House will provide you with top-notch service to guide you through every step of the process. We make the real estate process fun and easy through effective marketing, strategic advertising, and always a client-focused experience. From single-family homes to full-scale developments, Beach House Sales Development has you covered. Check them out at beachhousesalesfl.com or give them a call at 850-919-3500.
It's bowl season on ESPN Radio. 25 bowl games, including the college football playoff and national championship game.
Intercepted! The electricity, the atmosphere. Goes back shoulder. Touchdown! resilient performance.
Tonight, it's the LA Bowl. California versus UNLV. Kickoff at 8 right here.
It's the beauty of college football.
On your home for college bowl games, ESPN Northwest Florida.
ESPN Northwest Florida presents the college football playoffs and bowl games.
Getting to the goal line and in for the touchdown.
Listen live in ultra-high fidelity on ESPN Northwest Florida. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs.
You're back with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. We've got a good one down there in Boca Raton right now. It's a tie ball game at 7. Western Kentucky just got on the board with a passing touchdown. It's 7-7 in the second quarter with 13 minutes right after the Afternoon Underdogs. We will get you to the coverage for that game, and then following that, it will be Cal and UNLV to wrap up our bowl games for this evening. Don't forget about the Coach James House Show. It'll be right here on ESPN Northwest Florida tomorrow from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. And then following that will be the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey and Jay Henley and a slew of Dynasty team members as they're going to be in the building tomorrow from 11 to 1. Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun, man. There's, I'll tell you what, they're very cerebral. They've got a lot of insight, and they love talking about sports. And that's a fun thing for me because the generational difference, I'm sure a lot of people listen to me and are like, what is this young whippersnapper talking about, you know? When we're talking here on the radio.
Rob?
What's that?
Is that Lynn Haven?
No, Lynn Haven. Man, I tell you what, honestly, not too many listeners give me a hard time about my youth. I think that's also because I'm decently versed in the history of sports and I care about those things. But it is, whenever I'm listening to these younger kids talk about sports, I'm like, oh, we see the game totally different, don't we? Which is a beautiful thing, and that's what keeps the sports evolving. 850-215-6290 is the number to call. Jimmy chiming in on YouTube says, let's go JA17. We're going to dive into that debate here at 5:40 after we go over the all-county team and some of the local scores. But first, we got to dive into the first round of the college football playoffs. I have really slacked off in our picks department. We've had a lot of stuff going on. So
text me the sheet. I'll get it to you.
We'll figure something out. But I don't have a sheet is what I'm saying. And I haven't been keeping track of the scores. I haven't been able to get everyone's picks for like the last 3 weeks. So I'm kind of just like, all right, do your picks.
Tell Randy you'll stop working on clocks and you got to do our picks.
Yeah, there we go. We'll figure out something though. I should have just sent you guys all over a bowl pick'em sheet and we would have just done it like that. But let's focus here on the first round of the college football playoff, and we'll kick it off with Indiana and Notre Dame. That game is going to be this Friday. Coverage starting at 6:30 for a 7 p.m. kick. We might be a little late getting to the coverage depending on how that Florida-Tulane game ends up playing out. But as of now, Notre Dame is a 7-point favorite, and the total is sitting at 52.5. It's going to be a night game underneath the lights there in South Bend. Indiana, Notre Dame. Your first thoughts on this game, and then give us your pick. And let's do score predictions with these games.
Okay. I'm excited about this game because you're looking at a Notre Dame team that everybody has kind of balked at, right? After coming off the Northern Illinois loss. Then they follow that up with a really tough matchup against Louisville. Since then, they haven't really had to be tested very much, but they've passed the test essentially, and that's why they're there right now in the playoff. It's a Notre Dame team that can be scary. Riley Leonard has experience, not in the playoffs, but just overall experience.
Yeah.
So I don't believe that he's going to be rocked or it's going to be big. The moment's going to be too big for him. Indiana, this game boils down to if they want to win this game, they need more than like 3 stops defensively because I don't feel like Notre Dame offensively can keep up in a shootout, but I feel like Notre Dame can get enough stops to, make it to cover the spread. But I feel like if Indiana is going to win this game, they're going to have to get more than 3 stops, probably closer to 4 stops, on the defensive side of the ball. And if they're able to do that, then IU wins. But that's a tough task to do, especially on the road at night. I don't like it, but I feel like it's going to be Notre Dame 34-31. So I think IU covers, but I feel like Notre Dame gets the win barely.
All right, and Caveman Rick.
I'm rooting for Indiana. Hope they end up winning. It'd be kind of cool to see that happening. It's going to be tough playing in South Bend, like we were talking about being the first college playoff game, and it being a Notre Dame home game, which I'm kind of wondering if that was kind of like set up purposefully a little bit. But all things being said, I think it, again, will probably be a close game, probably come down to like a field goal. I think Indiana could, get some takeaways. They got a good defense, good secondary. So because of that, I'm going to say Indiana wins it very close, 24-23.
Oh, Indiana 24-23. All right, we'll record that down. Jimmy's got IU winning 34-27, so a lot of close scores, and so far everyone has the spread being covered by Indiana, 2 outright wins. AG, I'm a little bit closer to you. I think that this is going to be a game that a lot of people are tuned into, wanting to see how this 12-team college football playoff ends up playing out. I think that it's really tough for me to say which staff has the advantage when it comes to coaching. Is it Kurt Cignetti, seeing what he's been able to do with his Hoosier program in the first year, going 11-1, taking care of business? Maybe didn't play the toughest schedule, but you took care of business. You did what was needed of you to get into the college football playoff. But then when you ran into the buzzsaw of Ohio State, and there's 8 other teams in this college football playoff that are like Ohio State, meaning they have the depth, they have the 4 and 5 star athletes. I think that's where, when push comes to shove, I've got to take the team with not only more experience, but also better athletes overall. I think Notre Dame has that. I know a lot of people look at their second game of the season and says, oh, you lost to Northern Illinois, but they bounced back and did what they needed to do. Had they played a tougher schedule than Indiana, maybe slightly at best, but I don't think that it's, overwhelming or there's not a lot to put your finger on when it comes to the schedules that they've played. But I think Notre Dame's going to be better up front. I think that they're going to be able to run the ball better than what Indiana is. I do think that you mentioned the experience that Riley Leonard brings to the table, and that's one thing that Notre Dame has done well, is not only do they get their running back in play, but they get their quarterback running the ball as well. And if Riley Leonard can take care of the ball, I see a low-scoring game in this one. I like 23-17. 23-17 Notre Dame moving on to the second round in the college football playoff. Now, again, I'm right there with, I think all 4 of us at this table. I would say 70% of the people listening right now would rather see Indiana win over Notre Dame, but we've got to pick with our minds and not with our hearts. So I'll go 23-17. So a little recap there. AG's got Notre Dame winning 34-31. Caveman Rick got Indiana winning 24-23. I've got Notre Dame winning 23-17, and Jimmy's got IU winning 34-27. As we move to the next game, which is going to be SMU and Penn State. That game will be right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Coverage will start Saturday morning right at 11 a.m. Penn State's an 8.5-point favorite in this game, which is the second biggest spread. And the total's a little high there at 54.5. I know Penn State fans would have loved for this game to be at night, but it's not. So wide it out early in the morning. What do you think about this game, AG?
This game boils down to turnovers. If SMU can not do what they did against Clemson, they can take care of the ball. That offense is fully capable of scoring some points, even against a defense like Penn State. They're super athletic. However, again, this boils down to Penn State playing in a lot more bigger games, here in the recent history, and Penn State's at home. I feel like this is one of those where it's going to be tight going into like the fourth quarter, and then that's when Penn State's depth and their leadership kind of takes over. So I feel like Drew Allard, putting his mark on this season. He's already said he's potentially coming back next year for Penn State. So I feel like he knows what the mission is. He gets it done in the fourth quarter. Give me Penn State 28, SMU 21.
Oh, Rick, what you got there, bud?
It's kind of tough for me. Kind of want to see Penn State maybe win, but James Franklin's the head coach, right?
Yeah.
And he's got a propensity of like screwing stuff up, especially late in games, right? especially sometimes big games. So because of that, kind of, wondering how he's going to, handle this game. A lot of probably the same stuff we've seen in the past, right? SMU, like you already said, they can score some points. They got an offense. They're the team that's, playing with house money. If they lose, oh, well, they're kind of supposed to lose, right? But if they go in there and win, then it's like, hey, we just took out Penn State, top team in the CFP right now, right? So I'm going to take SMU on the road. And just because, like I said, they don't have all the pressure on them, they don't have to, worry about it as so much. I think they'll play a lot more free. I think if they win this game, going into the next game, that's when the pressure might get to them. But give me SMU, final score, let's say 28-24.
All right, so that would have you right underneath the total, I believe. Is that, or is it 54.5 for the total? 52.5, so that would have you right there at 52. I think we're going to see a lot of scoring in this game. I think SMU is going to have to right the ship in terms of what they did in the ACC Championship by having to climb back into the game. I don't think that's the greatest recipe for success when it comes to SMU. That's not necessarily how they played. They had a couple of games like that this year, but they did their job in the ACC Championship, because if it wasn't like that, if they didn't climb back into that game, we're talking about something that a lot of people are really glad that didn't happen. That would be Alabama being in this college football playoff. So SMU really did become America's team for at least an evening there. I think Penn State is better than what people give them credit for, but you brought up a really good point. See, I like Rhett Lashley as the coach of, if it comes down to a coaching decision, give me Rhett Lashley and and SMU. However,
from a creative standpoint, right?
From a creative standpoint, and from a not messing it up. Not messing it up.
Execution.
Yeah, executional standpoint. I think for Penn State, though, they've got the better weapons. They've got the better offensive and defensive front, and I think that plays a huge role. Now, the X factor in this game for me is going to be Brashard Smith, the running back for SMU, who's got 1,200 yards this year. They've got a decent quarterback, too, as well in Jennings, and he's played well. But I think if they can get the run game going, SMU, then they have a better chance. I'm looking at fireworks for this game. I'm looking at Penn State outlasting and possibly having to kick a late field goal. I'm going to go 41-38 Penn State. And it's going to be just back and forth for the whole entire game. So I'll go Penn State 41-38. And then we'll move on to...
Jimmy says Penn State 41-31.
Okay. So we've got some 34-31?
41-31.
Oh, 41-31. So we're right there with the 41. That game could be a lot of fun if our predictions are correct there. Then we'll move on to Clemson and Texas, the 3 o'clock game. A reminder, all of these games are right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Texas is a 12-point favorite. We'll do this game, and then we'll take a break. What do you see from this one, AG?
Which Texas shows up? Earlier in the year Texas, or the Texas we're seeing lately? Clemson is going to be Clemson.
The Texas that didn't play Georgia, or the Texas that played Georgia?
Yeah, right. So this game boils down to, are we seeing Jekyll or are we seeing Hyde? If Hyde shows up, it could get really, really ugly for Clemson. If Jekyll shows up, I think it could be a really, really good situation for Clemson, because Dabo is going to be able to do what he wants to do. Now, the ultimate caveat is, does Clemson, right? It's at Texas. There's a perfect opportunity there for them to do that.
Yeah.
But I feel like this game is going to be tighter than a lot of people think. I like Clemson in this game a lot because I don't like the direction Texas is headed. But because it's at home, I'm going to go Texas 27, Clemson 24.
Okay, man, Rick.
All right, yeah. This game being in Texas, I think it's going to benefit Texas. I think there'll probably be some home cooking there one way or the other. Whether you got fans throwing junk on the field or something else happening, somehow or another, Texas I think will benefit from a call or something like that. That'll probably benefit them in the long run, and probably bring up some controversy or something just because it's Texas. All things being said, though, Texas playing at home, it's a big, environment. Clemson's been there, though. Dabo, he knows how to play in big games, right? He's won. But all things being said, now with the way things are going, even if Ewers gets hurt, you can throw in Arch Manning, insert him, and then Texas should be fine for the most part. So I'll say Texas wins this one. And final score, I'll say kind of score on this one. How about 28-21, Texas?
28-21. I am also...
Jimmy says Texas walks Clemson. Give me Texas 45-27.
45-27. What, has Texas even scored 45 points this year? I mean,
I don't know unless there was a directional school in there.
Well, yeah, and they definitely did score. They scored 52 against Colorado State. They scored 31 against Michigan, 56 against UTSA, 51 against UL Monroe. But outside of that, they scored 49 against Florida. But I think that game would have been a little bit different had DJ Lagway been playing. I am not a huge. I'm right there with you guys. I just don't think that Texas has had the season that even Texas fans wish that they had. Not just the 2 losses to Georgia. I think that those, at least one of those, are excusable. The first one in Austin. But they've really had a cakewalk schedule when it comes to what kind of schedule they could have had in the SEC, and they've underperformed to an extent. Now, they did their job by winning as 11 games in the regular season, but I don't feel confident in their offense. I do feel confident in their defense, and I think that they're a better team overall than what Clemson is. I think that this is going to be relatively low scoring here compared to some of the other games and some of the other scores that we've blurted out. I'm going to go Texas 23, Clemson 16. 23-16 will be my score right there, 23-16. And then we'll go ahead and take a quick time out. When we get back, we'll finish up with Ohio State and Tennessee, our thoughts on that game, and then we'll dive into Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson if time permits. You're right with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida.
Weather in the Panhandle never stops. Turn to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with your latest forecast.
We're up to the minute weather reports all day long.
A chance of thunderstorms and moderate rain.
In-depth storm coverage.
Hurricane Helene.
And breaking weather as it happens.
We do have a tropical storm warning.
ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Good evening. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. For tonight, a mixture of very light rain and some clouds and a low of 62 with wind 3 to 7 miles per hour out of the north-northwest. Mostly sunshine tomorrow morning, a gentle breeze and quite warm near 67. Clear and 69 in the afternoon and evening. 64 and sunshine with a gentle breeze Friday. This is your Wednesday's weather brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it. Good evening. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. For tonight, a mixture of very light rain and some clouds and a low of 62 with wind 3 to 7 miles per hour out of the north-northwest. Mostly sunshine tomorrow morning, a gentle breeze and quite warm near 67. Clear and 69 in the afternoon and evening. 64 and sunshine with a gentle breeze Friday. This is your Wednesday's weather brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hello, this is Rick Vossen with RV of Panama City, your local Stormore portable building dealer, located at 2241 East Baldwin Road. Shopping for a garage, portable building, cabin? We build them anywhere from 8 to 16 foot wide, 10 feet to 60 feet long. We can do insulation, electricity, transom dormers, thermal windows. Come, let's customize a building together. Rick Vossen, Stormore Portable Building Dealer, Panama City.
PCB Hobby, the beach's premier hobby store for sports cards, comics, coins, and trading card games. PCB Hobby carries the largest selection of boxes and packs from the latest releases of brands like Topps, Panini, Leaf, and more. Looking for a specific player or team? PCB Hobby has a wide assortment of raw and graded cards. They carry parallel rookie, game used, and autographed cards in both modern and vintage. Have a collection you want to sell? We buy, sell, and trade. PCB Hobby on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linen. Call 850-320-8388.
It's bowl season on ESPN Radio. 25 bowl games, including the college football playoff and national championship game.
Intercepted!
The electricity, the atmosphere.
Goes back shoulder! Touchdown!
What a resilient performance.
Next, it's the Boca Raton Bowl. We'll join this one in progress starting at 6.
It's the beauty of college football.
Western Kentucky versus James Madison on your home for college bowl games, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Hot takes, the latest trades, in-depth interviews.
That is my reaction.
We break it down for you right here.
Very big springboard for the rest of my career.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
That's the problem right there.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
What's that smell like to you, AG?
Kingsbury.
All right, you're back with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. David Hayes, Caveman Rick, and Adam Goff this Wednesday afternoon. I just went outside briefly. It is a bit foggy. The fog has came back with a little bit of a vengeance, so y'all definitely be safe out there and make sure that you're buckled up. We left off talking about the first 3 college football playoff games, and we're kind of all over the board here. 3 of us have taken Penn State, but Caveman Rick went with SMU, and I think a lot of us would we not be excited to see SMU? It's almost, for me, Indiana, Notre Dame, SMU, Penn State. I think Notre Dame and Penn State, the powerhouses, your normal powerhouses, will come away with the win. But if Indiana and SMU win, if both of those teams, here's my hot take. If Indiana, it's not even a hot take. If Indiana and SMU both win, what took us so long to get to the 12-team college football playoff?
Right. Well, and I think if SMU is able to get the win, and even if Clemson loses, I still feel like an SMU win is more advantageous for the ACC than Clemson winning.
Oh,
just because.
Well, that might be a hot take. I like that.
No, I don't think it's a hot take. I think it shows that there's more depth coming into the ACC, right? SMU's first year in the ACC, they make it to the championship game, and then they win a game in the first ever 12-team playoff. It shows that the ACC does have more than just, the teams that it's had before. So I think it would be a louder conversation for the ACC of, in terms of being relevant, if SMU were to win as opposed to Clemson. Now, if they both win, then have at it.
Hey, if they both win, the ACC, let's go, right? You know what I mean? If you're the ACC, you gotta tout that. For sure, to get 2 teams, not only do you get 2 teams into the college football playoff, but then you have 2 teams moving on to the quarterfinals. That would be great for the conference. Let's dive in here. Tennessee, Ohio State. Ohio State right now is a 7-point favorite in the total. So this dropped down now. So Ohio State and Notre Dame are both 7-point favorites. And this is the lowest point total, I believe, of all 3 of the games at 47.5. AG, your thoughts on Tennessee and the Buckeyes?
I don't say this in terms of like denigrating either team or anything like that. This is going to be one of the most boring football games of the year. You have 2 offenses. Yes. You have 2 offenses that at times can show flashes of brilliance, but you have 2 defenses that don't give up a lot either.
Yeah.
Right? So who's going to bend? What's going to break? This is going to be a very, very low scoring game. I feel like it's going to be in the teens kind of thing. I don't think you're going to see very many explosive plays just because neither defense gives it up very much. And it's going to be a nip and tuck kind of game the entire way. It doesn't mean it's not going to be exciting from a standpoint of the suspense, but in terms of the amount of offense that we see, like this could be a 17-14 game with a defensive touchdown in there. You know what I mean? So I feel like Tennessee on the road, much tougher matchup going in there to the shoe. I think Ohio State does win the game. I think it's going to be 17-14.
17-14 Ohio State.
And don't be shocked if and I don't know which side. Don't be shocked if there's a defensive touchdown on one side or both.
Oh, there you go. How about that? Half of your touchdowns, if both teams had a knot, and half of your touchdowns are defensive touchdowns. Caveman Rick, 17-14, correct?
Yeah.
All right. This game's being played at the shoe. Ohio State, they're always play pretty good there. Tennessee going on the road. I mean, they should probably travel and play well. I would think probably in a little bit inclement weather just because where they're at. But going to I've been to Ohio is probably a little different for them, I think it's going to be close in the sense that I think this game's going to go to overtime.
Oh.
And I think the game's going to be decided, going into OT. So because of that, my score is going to reflect it, but I think it's going to be Ohio State winning it 30-28.
Oh, because of the 2-point conversion. So you're going to say that they're making it to the second or third and beyond overtime? You said Ohio State 30-28.
Yeah. At least one overtime, but there might be, it could be like one of those games where they got like 3,
Well, on the second overtime, you have to go for 2. So, let's say that Tennessee scored, but they didn't get the 2-point conversion, and then Ohio State scores, and they do get the 2-point conversion. They would win by 2 at that point. Man, I like that take. That is a hot take, right? To say a game's going to go to overtime and it's going to finish 30-28. I like that a lot. Man.
I picked Ohio State to win?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So far, 2 Ohio States. For me, if Ohio State was fully healthy across their front, their offensive line, they're missing at least 2 guys, possibly a third. And they're guys that have been there for them all year long. Honestly, every game that I've watched Ohio State this year, I'm like, first off, my biggest question is you've got 2 of the greatest running backs in college football right now, and you use them like I used a third-string running back on EA College Football 25. I haven't been using a razor lately, actually, buddy. I've been using a brush. Yeah, so you use them like I would use someone like that I don't even care about if I'm getting them any statistics on college football, on a video game, for crying out loud. You have one of the best young wide receivers in the game, and I believe Jeremiah Smith. Why did you go get Will Howard? That's the first thing that I think of every time I watch an Ohio State game. I'm like, why did y'all go get him? Chip Kelly needs to be a little bit more creative with a playbook. And I just don't think Ohio State is as good as what other people think they are. And I don't use the Michigan game for that to be emblematic. For me, it's more the Nebraska game where it was like, all right, yeah, y'all aren't as good as what you know. And across the board, really, outside of Oregon, every team has looked like that at some point in time. So that's really not a knock at Ohio State. But when you look at that roster was poised for success. It was bought for success, if you will. And that's not another knock at Ohio State. That's just where we're at in college football. I think Tennessee is going to find a way to control the tempo of this game. I think that Ohio State is going to make mistakes by trying to run into the interior of the defense here against the Tennessee Volunteers, and they've got a really good defensive front, and they've got a really good running back in Sampson, and I think that that's going to be the difference maker. I think we have another medium scoring game here, maybe not as low as what I have Texas and Clemson playing to at 23-16. I'm going to go with Tennessee winning this game by a score of 27-23.
Okay. Jimmy says Tennessee is so good, but they peed down their leg when it matters. Ohio State wins at home 28-24.
Ooh, is that why they were orange? They're dehydrated?
I guess so, yeah.
It depends on the orange. That kind of orange is more of a vomit orange. Dehydrated orange is more like a...
That's coming from a Bama fan. Vomit orange.
That's, I mean, straight up. But if we're talking about urine, that type of orange I don't think would be dehydrated. That's more of a Texas Longhorns color urine.
Maybe. I'm just, I mean, like, we're splitting
it was so funny is I was watching this video on Facebook the other day, and this guy had a whole bunch of, like, vials of urine on the table. He was like, if your pee looks like this, that means you're going through this. I never knew that you could have blue pee. Apparently, if your urine is blue, you've got too much calcium in your body. So I need a lot of calcium. If anyone's got like some calcium, I want to just pee blue one time. I think that would be so cool. I feel like the opposite.
You just go to the store, you buy like
calcium tablets or whatever.
Like, am I a Smurf?
And then there you go, and then like you use a restroom, and then it looks like somebody put Toddy Bowl.
What if you were on a road trip or whatever, and you peed in a bottle, and it's like electric blue, and then there's someone in the back, and they don't know.
Oh, it's Gatorade.
Yeah, that's that ice blue Gatorade.
Oh, you're gonna be sweating a different color later, dog. All right. So that's gonna do it for the first round of the college football playoffs and our picks there. We've only got 3 minutes left here. AG, you brought up a very compelling argument. When it comes to the statistics, everyone is almost writing home and writing off that Josh Allen has cemented the MVP, has won the MVP award for the National Football League here in the year of our Lord 2024. But when you look at the numbers, it's a little bit closer than what everybody wants to give Lamar credit for.
Yeah, I mean, the only major statistic that Josh Allen leads over Lamar Jackson has rushing touchdowns. It's 11-3. Right, and everybody's going, Lamar only has 3 touchdowns. He must be having a bad year. Nope. Go look at the rest of his numbers. They're better than what they were the year he won the MVP last year, his second MVP. The knock on him has been their record, right? They're losing to Cleveland. They're losing games they shouldn't. His defense has been absolutely atrocious. His turnovers are down. So he's not turning the ball over. His kicker, his all-world kicker.
Yeah, is that not wild? Justin Tucker.
As you know, as
you would have thought he was on the cover of Madden,
right? I mean, so there's things that are going on, and if you watch the Cleveland game, there were, I don't know, maybe 7 to 8 drops, key drops by wide receivers. And again, everybody has drops and blah, blah, blah. But this is something that we've seen out of Lamar Jackson, and my brother and I talked about it at length the other day. I wonder if there's a delivery thing with him, with Lamar, right? Is
like a little hitch in his giddy up?
No, like sometimes the receivers will say, "Oh, he throws a catchable ball."
Yeah,
right. Is it something about Lamar where, maybe because of the velocity,
no touch,
maybe because of the spin, maybe there's a lack of touch on some throws that maybe it's not as catchable as it would want to be. I don't know.
Yeah, but if you're making it in the league as a wide receiver, if it touches your hands, I don't care about the speed.
I agree with you 100%.
Right.
But maybe there's something to it. I don't know. But I look at what Lamar's doing, and I say, okay, he's having a better year statistically than he had last year. They're going to the playoffs. They're going to have an opportunity to win it all. They're going to have to go through Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. But I feel like he's having a better regular season this year as a pocket quarterback, even though he has more rushing yards than Josh Allen does right now.
By almost 300.
He's still been a pocket quarterback this year, and it's proven successful.
Real quick, I'll just say this. Okay, both of those guys, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, both of them, same thing last year, this year, same kind of situation, both similar numbers, right? Deciding factor last year, Lamar Jackson had a better team record than Josh Allen. He wins MVP. This year, Josh Allen, better team record than Lamar Jackson. If there's probably going to be a tiebreaker, it's going to be the record, Josh Allen.
After looking at the numbers actually aren't that close. They're well in favor. I would say outside of rushing touchdowns, they definitely favor Lamar Jackson. I think that you bring up a huge point, and I think something else that is going to contribute to the votes going towards Josh Allen is the fact going into this season, no one thought the Buffalo Bills would be doing what the Bills are doing to this point. We'll pick this conversation up in a couple of weeks.
Real quick. I know we got to go.
5, 4.
Josh Allen led the league in turnovers last year. That played a huge role in him not getting it.
Jesus loves you, so do I. We're out. Coming up next, the Boca Raton Bowl.
ESPN Northwest Florida. The Afternoon Underdogs.
Albeit it's not your vintage Aaron Rodgers, he's averaging less than 5 yards a pass. These statistics, if you apply them to previous defenses, we should be competitive right now. The reason why we are not competitive is our now ex-brilliant GM, deconstructed the defense, brought in a malcontent from the Philadelphia Eagles who clearly don't miss him.
4 to 6 weekdays. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good evening. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. For tonight, a mixture of very light rain and some clouds and a low of 62 with wind 3 to 7 miles per hour out of the north-northwest. Mostly sunshine tomorrow morning.